Hello and welcome to an apparent review of Field Marshal Rommel. The Desert Fox? Yes? No? Right, so what we have here is the Fox Knives Desert Fox. So let me get that open as quickly as possible so you can have a look at this. Wow, absolutely beautiful, beautiful knife. It's gorgeous. I could just end the review right there. I think you can see what I think about the knife. So, beautiful knife, gorgeous knife, and wrap it up right there. So um, what we have is a knife as described on the Boca USA website, and I'll explain a little bit about that a little bit later if I remember. They describe it as an expressive utility knife with field-tested capability. And this knife apparently won the Blade Show Most Innovative Imported Design in 2015. So clearly a very highly thought of and well-received knife. So guys, I'm going to be doing the usual materials, dimensions, and then design and attributes of the knife and my feelings of the knife, which I think I've already given away. But before I do that, let's just speak a little bit about the designer of this knife. So the designer is Manasherov, Boris Manasherov, who is an Israeli coach, engineer, gun maker, and Krav Maga specialist. So that's the hand-to-hand combat discipline. And it has been designed as an EDC, but also for tactical purposes. And I'll speak a little bit about the other alternative, the other version of this knife a little bit later as well, which is possibly a sort of more tactical version. But it's got to do that tactical purposes, it's got to do with the milled grip locations and the overall shape of the knife. But as I say, I'll speak about that a little bit later on. Let's dive into materials and then we'll do dimensions. Materials, we've got Damasteel. You probably would have seen that already, that is a Damascus blade, but look at that pattern and finish. That is so, wow, rich and sumptuous and gorgeous. So this particular pattern of Damasteel is the Bjorkman's twist, and apparently is made up of 364 folded layers. It is very, very impressive, as well as being very, very beautiful. Let's put that back down there. So we've got titanium handle, titanium clip. The screws are titanium. The standoffs are titanium. You can see them there. And then we've got the knife running on ball bearings. Dimensions of the knife, we've got a blade length of 91.7 millimeters or 3.61 inches. Blade thickness is 4 millimeters or 0.16 inches. Handle thickness of 12.9 millimeters or 0.51 inches, and then closed length of this knife is 125.3 millimeters or 4.93 inches. Overall length is 21.7. Let's put that down so you can see it in the light. 21.7 centimeters or 8.54 inches. And then let's check the weight of this knife. And this is a hefty little beast. The construction and size of the knife obviously contributing to that weight, but the weight does feel right for this size and style of knife. Let's get that nicely lined up there. Crank that up. What are we on? We're on ounces. So let's have a look at that. 5.7 ounces. And that in grams, 162 grams. So yeah, heavy little guy. No, heavy big guy actually. But yeah, it does seem appropriate, as I said, for the design of knife. Right, let's get this open again. So, as I mentioned, designed as an EDC, but also for the tactical purposes. Let's have a look at blade shape first of all. So we've got a classic drop point blade, very, very deep belly on that blade. And then you can see a swedge running from just in front of the jimping to the tip of the blade. Big jimping running quite a long way on the spine of that knife, quite a squared off spine too. And then you can see that big fuller, and that is the only way to deploy the knife. We'll have a look at that in a second. Plunge line running down into a very small sharpening choil, and then that ricasso, big ricasso running then up behind the fuller and then forward to where the main grind and swedge meet. did I call that a swedge just now? I hope I called that a swedge, the swedge running to the tip of the blade. I'm not sure what I called it, but it is a swedge. Flat grind, I mentioned, so not the deepest grind, and then the edge, another Fox edge, neatly done, but Fox again, the two sides not matching, so that side clearly wider towards the tip than that side, but not the worst, and I'm going to forgive them on this because the rest of the design and finish on this knife is, wow, it is absolutely superb. Big jimping on the back I mentioned, so plenty space for your thumb, and while I've got it in my hand at that angle, let's just have a look at that overall size. So my medium-sized hands, I've mentioned before, I wear a large glove. You can see very, very comfortably fit on that long handle, but my hands comfortably fit into that sort of general shape there. You can see the two very big finger choils, but I very comfortably fit onto that. So really really made for my hands. Bigger hands, you might be sort of forced a little bit into that general shape, but the ergos in this knife are excellent. So let's get back to that blade. I mentioned that big fuller as the only way to deploy the knife. And I wish more manufacturers would do this. So there is no flipper tab, and there are no thumb studs, but it works. I mean, the knife, it is so easy to deploy the knife, so you can just roll the knife out. You can actually thumb flick it as well. I'm not going to try on this because I've struggled a little bit with it, and the reason I struggle is when I try thumb flick it, I put pressure on the lock on the back, which so I'm working against myself. But you can thumb flick him, but if you get your nail under the fuller on that side, you can very easily spidey flick this knife, and it does fly out there. Incredibly smooth action, so you don't need any more. And quite honestly, that's actually the same as Medford, a Medford knife. And let me pull this knife out here. So this is the Medford Slim Midi Marauder, but you can see same thing. You've got the fuller. That is the only way to deploy the knife. You don't need more than that, and certainly without all that extraness, that extra fussiness, really does complement the design of the knife. Now, the reason apparently they didn't put a flipper on it, so there is another version of that knife. Maybe I should just, of this knife, maybe I should just mention that now. A couple other versions. So you get the identical knife that has a bronze finish as opposed to the blue on this handle. But you also get a less expensive, but probably more tactical version of the knife, and that is a G10 scale on stainless steel liners and has a blade steel of N690 and an all black finish, and that does have a flipper. It also has a glass breaker. So as I say, probably the more sort of utilitarian and tactical version of this knife. But the reason apparently they didn't put the flipper on this is not so much for the aesthetics, but apparently it's because of the blade stock, the sizes that you get the Damasteel in. And if they had gone with the flipper tab, you would have had to go to a bigger stock, and the amount of waste on that, because you'd be doing that only to accommodate the little flipper, the amount of waste would have just pushed the cost of this knife up considerably. So the decision was made to apparently to get rid of the flipper. But I am so glad they did, because I think that the design is much tidier, and frankly, you don't need that flipper. So yeah, all in all, aesthetically a very beautiful knife, and the ergos on the knife are really superb. That knife feels secure and really good in your hand with your thumb resting on that jimping, and you get a good grip with this very, very beautiful milling done on the handle. So the milling, you've got this groove cut into the handle there that matches the fuller on the blade, which looks beautiful, and then these 3 dimples running on the back on the show side, not on the so you don't have that detail on the lock side, but very beautifully done. But just speak about that milling. So the milling apparently is done for sort of tactical reasons. So those locations are apparently to facilitate safe and fast grip change. Now, it's really difficult to do this. I've got limited space in sort of the 3-dimension space here, but when I'm not under the camera, and you do that, that where you sort of flip the knife around, and like I say, I'm being a little awkward now under there. I'm trying to sit back a little bit, but if you very quickly kind of do that milling does help you to get the knife into the reverse grip. So you can much more smoothly do that when you're not under the camera. And while I've got it in that grip, in the reverse grip, I think it's really appropriate to show the knife in the reverse grip. Just flip the knife around that way, and you can see the handle has this little indent there, that little curve. So when you're holding it in reverse grip, if you're being more discreet, if you're hiding the blade, so you're holding it more like that, closer to your arm, your thumb very naturally falls into that little dip, and then if you move the blade out a little bit, your thumb can then rest on that portion of the handle there. So yeah, it looks like a very well considered, well designed knife for its intended use. Oh, but let's get back to it. Really beautiful. I'm going to keep going back to the fact that it is a really desirable and beautifully designed knife. Absolutely gorgeous. There are no attempts to make the knife any lighter, by the way. So if you look on the inside there, I'm not going to bring the torch out because there's nothing to show. It's absolutely flat on the inside of those titanium, of the titanium frame. But again, the weight feels right. It feels appropriate for this knife. It does really feel excellent in hand. Some other details, you can see the little pivot there, all Torx, I think I might have mentioned that, and titanium, but the little bit of design and machining on that screw there, and then you've got the circular machining on the pivot cap on this side as well. So as you turn that, you can see the way that catches the light is really beautiful. And you can see it flattened on one side, so if you are taking the knife apart, if you're unscrewing that's not going to spin, so that helps with that. While we got it there, you can see it's got the stainless steel. There's the two little Torx screws, but you've got the stainless steel inserts. You've got stainless steel on Damascus lockup, and the little over travel stop in the back. Pocket clip. We've got tip up carry, not reversible, but you can see it is shaped. So if it was reversible, they would have had to make a left and right version of that pocket clip, but there are no screws, no holes for the screws on that side. And titanium, as I mentioned before. The gap in there, it's quite a small gap in the back there, but nicely the way it's done. You can see it's got its own little standoffs on that pocket clip, so that looks really good. Dogs yapping in the background somewhere in the neighborhood, so if that's coming through on camera, apologies, but we'll keep going. So let's get that knife back out. The finish on this, and let me just speak about, while I've got the knife there, the logo that we've got there. I'm assuming that's Manasherov's logo. You can see let's just get the angle right so you can pick it up. There, little triangle with the 3 dots. And well, if you join those 3 dots, you kind of end up with the Star of David. So I don't know if that's what it's intended to be, but that's sort of what it looks like. It also looks like an alien symbol, but very neatly done, beautifully done, nice and discreet, doesn't distract from the knife at all. And then on the other side, we've got the also very good looking Fox logo, and then the Maniago, Italy, so where Fox Knives is based. Yeah, gorgeous. So getting back to that, the finish on this Damasteel blade, it's got a slight matte and grayish finish to it, which is really beautiful. I mean, it's not highly polished. And let me pull out the Wee knife, and this is a knife I did a review of. Please go check that out. Also a really beautiful knife, and a knife that I said that I really designed, and as you can now see, it has joined the collection. But that highly polished, different design, different pattern of Damasteel. This was the Heimskringla pattern, as opposed to the Bjorkman's twist. But the finish on this, I really do like this sort of mattish and slightly grayish finish on that Damasteel. Beautiful, beautiful knife. While it's lying there, I may as well take this opportunity to thank Blades and Triggers for their support. So this is another knife that's on loan from Blades and Triggers. They've given to me to mess around with for a few days and form an opinion on it and fall in love with. So really do appreciate their support. This knife available from Blades and Triggers. And you can check this online, BNT online, or pop into one of their shops, of course. Their retail stores, bricks and mortar. And available, globally as well. The knife is still available now. I mentioned early on that I saw this on Boca USA's website. I'm assuming they must be agents or importers for Fox knives in the US, and it is still available on their website as well. But on Fox's own website, this knife is not on the website anymore. So I don't know if it has been discontinued, but it certainly is a knife that is still available in the wild. Oh man, it is, and it is beautiful. And, the milling, those if I hold it in that dimension, in that direction, I should say, vertical lines in this case, but those vertical lines and those dimples and that cutout, as I mentioned, that matches the fuller, that little groove. It is all just so beautifully done, and it really does look good in this color. The bronze version of this also looks very good, but man, this blue looks fantastic. Guys, I think that's it. Time for me to probably stop drooling. I think I've mentioned the flat grind, the overall shape of it. I don't think that I've left anything out on it. Maybe just mention that little ball on the pocket clip, which makes it easier to get over cloth when you are EDCing this knife. I did mention that the space in the back there is a little bit small. I do think I've covered everything off. It's like shiny things in front of me. I'm getting distracted. So, I think all that's left really to do is size comparisons, and I'm going to use the usual suspects. So my usual suspects, that is. So we've got the Spyderco Manix 2 knife that's been out for a long time, and man, doesn't that look a little bit plain and ordinary? But just for a size perspective. Weights, I think these two knives probably very similar in weight. The other one, the knife that I had on here a second ago, is the Medford Slim Midi Marauder. Have a look at that. Altogether bigger knife than the Slim Midi Marauder. Just give you some perspective on size there. And then, because this is such a beautiful knife, I brought a few others out. So let's pull that one out again. Similar construction, although a very different design, but also the titanium, also ball bearing, and also the Damasteel blade. But man, isn't that gorgeous? There's a poster for you. So let's get that away. I'm bashing my equipment here. And then I went and hauled this out. I'd gone and put him away again, but brought him out for this review. Also, just another really gorgeous knife that is now full of fingerprints. Let's just give that a little bit of a wipe down. There we go. Put that back on. So this is the Sienkiewicz. Let's try that again, slower. The Sienkiewicz Design Zero Tolerance, and this is the 0456, also a really beautiful knife. But here we go. Let's have a look at that as well and flip those over to that side. Have a look at them on the show side. Man, that's beautiful. This is why we collect knives. Yo, nice. And then a recent acquisition for me, let's put this on as well. I think it's appropriate to put them that way around first. Appropriate to get this. They're very, very similarly sized knives, actually. And I mean, this is a beast. This is a big knife. This is the Medford Praetorian T. I did a little bit of a look at this knife as well. Please check out that video. I don't know if you can call it a review. It was more me gushing and drooling on the knife when I just obtained it. But very, very similar size. In terms of length, those two knives very similar. This one a little bit, bigger in that dimension, but both big, beefy knives. And let's flip them over while we've got them here. And let's flip them over and have a look at the show side of those two knives. Angle that so you can see the blade a bit. Man, another poster. It is, oh, that is gorgeous. Right, I'll stop. You're not here to listen to me gush and drool over knives. You're here to have a look at that. Guys, and I think that is pretty much it. Thank you for bearing with me, but beautiful, beautiful knife. Not an inexpensive knife. I mean, this does go deep into Medford territory, but wow, another knife that I'm really tempted by. And while I'm speaking, let's give you another look at the show side of this beautiful, beautifully designed and beautifully finished knife. Let's lay that down. That way I always lay it this way because of the pocket clip. It just lies flatter like this. And guys, I think all that's really left for me to say is to thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate you sharing your time with me. And as I always do say, I'd really appreciate if you would subscribe and hit that bell icon so you can be notified every time I release a new video. Because again, as I always say, I really would love you to join me more often. And other than that, you go well and God bless.